back to my channel Tea Time with Naomi, with me, Naomi, and my customary cup of tea. So April is nearly upon us, which means that the magical readathon is happening and I am so excited. So if you don't know what the magical readathon is, it is a readathon created by the wonderful G over at Book Roast, and she has basically made a readathon centred around the O.W.L.s exam as featured in Harry Potter. She has worked so hard and has even gone so far as to make leaflets in which you can choose your careers you would like to go for in the Harry Potter world. So once you've selected a career, all you have to do is look at the O.W.L.s exams that correlate to each career and then read a book that goes along with the prompt. So this year I have gone for the career of librarian. It was a toss up between this, Magizoologist and writer, and while my real life career is a writer, I thought that the Harry Potter word librarian suited me so much more. So G has made it sound so fantastic. So basically a librarian is someone who travels all over the world looking for ancient texts and old books, and that is basically me. I figured I would probably have some kind of magical creature partner as I travel all across the globe and diving in caves and finding old ruins and just looking for all those old books. I would probably have like an okami. Is that what they're called? I think so, because they're like adorable and I adore them so much. But anyway, let's get on to my TBR. So I did decide to find a book for each prompt, even though I'm probably realistically only going to read the books that correlate to my librarian career. So first, let's start off with those. So the first class I have to take to get my librarian qualifications is Ancient Ruins. Now the prompt that goes with this is a retelling, and I have chosen A Curse So Dark and Lonely by 𝚑𝚎𝚗𝚝. So I have been really excited to read this book for ages. I've heard wonderful things. Not only is like the cover utterly beautiful, and this spine is just, you can't really see, but this spine is beautifully holographic. Not only is this a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it has cerebral palsy representation. And any representation of any kind of illness, be it mental or physical, in a fantasy novel is just amazing to me. I think why not represent everyone? So I'm so glad that this book exists to represent all kinds of people and to prove the point that anyone can be in a fantasy story. You don't have to be able-minded or able-bodied to qualify. I have heard so many good things about this book and I'm honestly so excited, and this will probably be the first thing I read in April. So the next class I have to take is arithmancy, and the prompt for this is multiple authors. So I mulled this over quite a bit, but I decided that it was time to get back into graphic novels, and I'm finally going to read a graphic novel that I've had for a while, and that is Lumberjanes. I do believe this is volume 1. It is Beware the 𝚑𝚘𝚗'𝚝, yeah, and I'm ridiculously excited to read this. It is written by Stevenson, Ellis, Waters and Allen, and I could not be more ready to delve into this graphic novel. Also, quick point, it is also signed, which makes me ridiculously happy. I picked it up when I was visiting London, I think about 2 years ago, and I still haven't read it, and I'm really disappointed in myself. So when I saw that this was multiple authors, I knew that this was the perfect time to read this graphic novel. I know very little about the story, only that it's about a bunch of badass girls, and what else do I need? Honestly, that's all I ever want in any book or graphic novel, so I'm ridiculously excited. So considering I have to read so many books this month, this one is just going to be a nice quick read I can get through with minimal stress, and also I think the imagery will kind of just break it up for me a little bit. The next class is Defense Against the Dark Arts, and the prompt for this is Reducto, or a title with an R in it, and I have chosen Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. I know very little about this book, but I've heard fantastic things, and I've decided to read this on audiobook this month, and I honestly can't wait to get to it. I honestly didn't expect to enjoy fiction audiobooks as much as I do, but there's just something very special about hearing the voice of the character tell their story, and I think this is going to be especially so in Radio Silence. The next class is History of Magic, and this has to be a book that's 10 years or older. I was really stuck on this one until I realised I could read any classic I wanted, and there is one classic I've been dying to read for quite a while, and that is Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. So ever since I read Lost by Christina Henry, which is a retelling of sorts of Peter Pan, I have been hooked on like a Peter Pan binge, and I cannot wait to actually finally read the original story. I'm going to listen to this, I think, on audiobook, because I don't know, I haven't listened to a classic on audiobook, and I'd like to see how that's done. The last class I have to take is probably the one class I would love the most in Hogwarts, and that is Transfiguration. So for this I have to read a book with sprayed edges or a red cover. I didn't have a book with a red cover, and so I've gone for sprayed edges, and the only one I have for that is Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is the Waterstones special edition, and it is orange. I'm not sure I love this cover, I have to be honest. I'm not a fan. I'm not a huge fan of the colour orange, but you know, it's the only sprayed edges book I own, and I'm actually really excited to read this book. So unlike the first book, which is told from the point of view of Scarlet, I think this one is actually told from the point of view of 𝚑𝚘𝚗, and I'm really interested in that. 𝚑𝚘𝚗 was one of my favourite characters in the first book, and so I'm very eager to see, or like to hear her point of the story and what happened, and I think we actually hear more about Legend in this one, and he is such an interesting character. Like, we learned next to nothing about him in the first book, which I really enjoyed actually, because it just kept him mysterious, and it is such a good way to like keep readers wanting the next book, especially if you don't like talk about one of the main characters. So for that reason, I'm super keen to read this book, and I just can't wait. So if I do manage to finish all those books with a little time to spare, I am going to try and complete the rest of the prompts. So the next class is Astronomy, and for this I have to find a book with a star in the title. This is quite difficult, but I did find one that sounds very interesting and I'm very eager to get my hands on. And that is Every Falling Star, How I Survived and Escaped North Korea by 𝚑𝚎𝚗𝚘𝚎𝚘, and I really hope that I haven't butchered that name. I'm very sorry if I have. So North Korea is a topic that has always interested me. Having lived in Japan meant that I was quite close to North Korea, and there were so many instances where it was like I saw things about it. So one of them was when I was in the immigration office, there was a poster about North Korea and saying to be careful when you do travel to South Korea in case you get taken across the border and not allowed to return. And just things like that that we in the Western world don't really think about. You know, North Korea is quite far from where we are, and I think, you know, it's just so removed from our reality. So I think it's so important to read and hear stories from people who either do still live there or who have managed to escape and survive. Next book is Care of Magical Creatures, which is another class I would absolutely love, and for this you need to read a book with a land animal on the cover. For this I have chosen White Stag by Cara Barbieri. I have always wanted to read this book. It was one of my top most anticipated books of 2019. I know next to nothing about it, which is kind of how I like to go into a lot of books. Like, I'm one of those people who actually doesn't mind spoilers. I will literally read the end of a book if I'm anxious midway through. I know, I'm honestly the worst. So every now and then I like to not really read the blurb and just to learn a little bit about it and kind of go into it blind, because that sometimes does lower my anxiety when reading a book, because I have literally no idea what to expect at all. The next class is Charmed, and for this I need to read an age line book, so a book which is basically an adult book, and I'm going to read Vicious by V.E. Schwab. So I met her in March and I had this copy signed, if I can find it. Oh, that's the receipt. There we are. And I haven't read this yet, which makes me the worst, I know, but I'm so excited for this. Everyone was recommending this book when I was wondering which of her books to buy. So I'm ridiculously keen on this book. So this is a story about two best friends and how their lives kind of continue after they verge on different paths. And that to me is really interesting. I love stories about best friends and like brotherly and sisterly relationships. So I'm ridiculously excited for this, and I'm really keen for all the dark and I think probably quite depressing tones that this book will bring me. The next class is Divination, and for this I have to read a book set in the future. This is a no-brainer. I'm going to read, if I can get hold of it, Cinder by Marissa Meyer. So I have been dying to read this book for so long and I've yet to get hold of it, but if I get the chance I definitely want to get hold of this book and read it this month. So I do believe this is a retelling of Cinderella set in the future and with cyborg vibes, which is just amazing. Like, put Disney in sci-fi. Like, what a genius idea. I cannot wait to read all of the Lunar Chronicles, and Cinder's just the first, and I'm so excited if you can't tell. So for that reason, this book just had to be on this list. And when I saw a futuristic prompt, I was like, yes, Cinder is the one for this one. The next class is Herbology, which is another one I think I'd enjoy, and I'm actually really excited for this prompt. So this prompt is a plant on the cover, and for this I'm going to read A Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I was kind enough to be sent an ARC by Simon & Schuster, and I've been waiting for the right moment to read this book because I just know I'm gonna love it so much. So Margaret Rogerson also wrote An Enchantment of Ravens, which I do believe is her debut novel, and that is one of my favourite books of all time. So when I received this book, I think I actually screamed a little bit. So this actually fits in really well with the career that I've chosen, which this is all about a magical library basically, and sorcerers and kick-ass girls, and what more could you want? Not to mention that this cover is utterly beautiful, as is with her other book. Magical library, sorcery, kick-ass girls. Yes, yes, yes. And I think even if I don't get to all my other prompts, I think this is probably going to be the prompt I will start with after I finished all my librarian qualifications. Next on the list is Muggle Studies, for which we have to read a contemporary. For this, I'm going to read Sal by 𝚑𝚘𝚗'𝚝. So I've been dying to read this for ages. It is a story set in Scotland, which is a country I'm desperate to go to, and I'm kind of ashamed that I've never been. I mean, I live in Wales and we're not that far away, and I haven't been. Like, this just hurts me. So I'm very desperate to read this book. It is set in the Scottish Highlands, which is actually very interesting to me as my own novel is partly set there too. So this essentially is about a young girl called Sal who has been planning to run away for over a year, and we see her journey through the Scottish Highlands and all the preparations she has undertaken to get her to this moment. I haven't read a book like this before, and I'm very interested in this kind of story, and just also look at this cover. It is absolutely beautiful and atmospheric, and just I love books with covers like this. I just love beautiful covers, especially when the cover is illustrated. I think that just adds something really special to the story. Not to mention the hardback. It's this beautiful fuchsia cover, and let me just show you. I mean, like, is there a more beautiful book around? Is there? I'd like to be told. And the last prompt is Potions, for which we have to read a sequel. So, okay. This book isn't technically a sequel, but it also technically is a sequel. So yeah, before anyone says anything, I do know I'm kind of pushing my luck a little bit with this. But this book is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. If you have read the Grisha trilogy of Six of Crows, you will know exactly who this is about. This is about Nikolai Lannister and his life, basically, and what happens to him after the events of the Grisha trilogy and after the Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom duology. I'm ridiculously excited to read this book. I really wanted to read it back in February, where I pretty much read all of the Grisha trilogy and the Six of Crows duology, but I was a little bit like worn out by Leigh Bardugo by then, and I just needed a little bit of a break. Otherwise, I don't think I would have been able to appreciate this book as much, because you can have too much of a good thing. Like, you can. But Nikolai is one of my favourite characters of all time, so I'm ridiculously excited to read this book. Not only is it about the best person ever, but also it's beautiful. Like, look at this cover, and this hardback also. I know I mentioned the Sal was amazing, but this hardback is also stunning. I mean, oh, look at it. Look at all that filigree. And if this book wasn't interesting enough being just about Nikolai, here is one line from the blurb, and it says, "Face your demons or feed them." Need I say more? Like, what an amazingly enticing line. Like, how am I supposed to, like, how is anyone supposed to pick this up, be like, ah yes, face your demons or feed them, and close them and put it back on the shelf? Like, you just, it's impossible. And I think Leigh Bardugo knew that, because, yeah, as you can tell, I'm very, very excited about this book. So that's it for my O.W.L.s readathon. I'm ridiculously excited. So as you can see, I'm a Gryffindor, and I'm trying to like rep with my vibes today, and I cannot wait to kind of get back onto the Discord chat and kind of talk to people again, because I've kind of been avoiding it a little bit because there's just so many people and I get ridiculously anxious. So that's it from me today. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I've been anticipating making this video for so long, and yeah, I'm just so excited to get started. March has turned out to be a better reading month than I thought it was going to be, which I think has really motivated me even more for April, because, you know, if I can read about 4 or 5 books when I'm feeling quite, like, not very well in March, then what am I going to do in April when I'm ridiculously excited? So yeah, if you can't tell, I'm super excited. I am now going to finish my lovely cup of tea. I'm going to finish my journal spread about the O.W.L.s readathon, and yeah, so that's it for today, guys. Please do let me know as well what career you've chosen in the comment section below and what books you are most excited about reading. I cannot wait to see what everyone gets up to, and hopefully I can make a few reading vlogs throughout the month to go with this read along. I hope you're all having a wonderful day or evening wherever you are, and I'll see you soon. I love you all. Bye. So to select, so once you've selected what's wrong with me today?